Welcome back to Not a Wheelchair headquarters. I'm excited to announce that we are finally doing it, building our own manual rigid wheelchair. Initially, I thought this might take a couple months or years for us to get started on, but with the fantastic response we've had from you guys by buying these coins, I've been able to hire a couple more guys specifically for this project. Medical insurance here in the United States only buys a manual wheelchair once every 5 years. Every half a decade, and spoiler alert, they don't last that long. Plus, these current chairs are very expensive, up around $5,000 or $6,000. My wife just tried getting a new manual wheelchair for herself, and insurance said it would take 6 months. Which is not acceptable. So we're gonna do it ourselves. With this new project, we should be able to make our own rigid chairs for a fraction of the cost in the fraction of the time. No hoops for people to jump through, or I guess in this case, roll through. But first, we need a fabrication room, which is what's behind me. And while the sale of these coins goes toward making our off-road wheelchairs cheaper for those who need it, this room is sponsored by Flow, a smart home EV charging system. But more on them later. Let's get started. So you might be curious how we are nailing into solid concrete, and that's with something called a hammer shot, which uses a bullet very similar to a handgun, a .22. Basically, we take the little bullet, load it into the chamber right here, and then take a nail, which has these little orange fins, and load it into the gun. Then all we need to do is hit the top with a hammer, and it goes through concrete. 3, 2, 1. Just kidding. First try. Now we have the room all framed out. All that's left is a little bit of drywall and some aesthetic decorations of our own design. The first 2 panels were kind of hard, but the next 2 panels should be pretty easy. To make things a little more exciting, we're punching holes in the drywall to kind of make it more like a spaceship. Should make things a little more interesting. New toy just showed up. The bender is here. We're gonna use this to make the curve on the wheelchairs. I'll show you how that works a little bit later. You might have noticed we have a framed out accessory closet over here in the corner. And inside of here we're getting a bit more creative. The Tormach requires an air compressor that's rather loud, as well as another very secret piece of equipment that I'm not going to talk about in this video. The secret piece of equipment means we need a much larger air compressor, and we're hoping to build a silent enclosure for it, which is where the insulation comes in. And of course, we're only using the best Pink Panther Owens Corning insulation. If you haven't seen it yet, I made a video about how they make this pink fiberglass insulation using recycled glass bottles. The video is super interesting. And while most people do use it for insulation, this is going to be for sound dampening. We are going to have a vent out to the outside for airflow, for those of you who are wondering. But at least for us, the sound should be mostly contained inside of this box, instead of reverberating around inside of our concrete floored facility. The wood we're using to skirt this soundproof enclosure room is actually from the crate that the Tormach was shipped in. It's less expensive and better to just reuse wood than it is to buy it new. Since this room is going to be used for metal manufacturing and welding, we want the inner drywall to be slightly more fire resistant than the exterior drywall. This right here is the non-fire rated stuff, and this thicker piece of drywall is more fire resistant. The internet says there's fiberglass inside of the fire resistant stuff. It's also thicker, which means it can withstand flame longer. Which is good news for us since this room will have some flames inside of it. This room's starting to look good. I'm super excited about these windows here. One thing we haven't covered up though is the electrical panel. We had to run a few extra electrical outlets in here to handle the welder and the air compressor since it's a workstation. And at the same time, we installed a Flow Home X5 electric vehicle charger. Flow sponsored this video, made this room possible, and I'm just super glad we have a charger on the outside. So inside of the X5, lifting off the outer housing, the sidewalls of this thing are 3 millimeters thick, so it can handle some major abuse. And since we're putting it outside, it has the rubber ring around the inside to help make it watertight. Here we have line 1, line 2 in the ground, as well as what looks like LEDs on the board, which should shine up through this plastic and let us know whether or not the charging is functioning. And obviously all of this is being installed by a certified electrician who actually knows what they're doing. The Flow charger runs on a 40 amp breaker, and instead of installing a plug at the other end, it's a vehicle charger. That works with any electric vehicle sold in the United States, including Tesla if you have an adapter. It is exterior rated, water resistant, with 3 millimeters of aluminum on the exterior, with a 25-foot commercial grade cable. Flow also has 65,000 chargers spread out across America if you ever take your EV on a road trip. It is currently installed and charging up my Rivian. I imagine at some point in the future we're going to get an electric truck to do local deliveries. We might just steal one of those Rivian Amazon vans. Either way, it's super fun to have, and huge thanks to the Flow Home X5 for sponsoring this video, and I'll leave a link for them down in the video description. Now let's get back to mudding the drywall. My philosophy when it comes to mudding drywall is any imperfection becomes perfection. If you've done drywall before, you know exactly what I mean. The mudding is done in this room that's soon to look like a spaceship. You'll see what I mean a little later in the video. Now it's time for paint. And my favorite part are probably going to be these welding curtains that we've held in place with magnets that allow the light from the weld to shine through to the outside of the room. We found an old piece of carpet left by the previous owners that we can lay on the ground of the soundproof air compressor compartment. It'll be nice having things a little less echoey in here. The tools we need to manufacture a wheelchair are relatively simple. The bender I bought from Rogue Fabrication, mostly because they have a YouTube channel. The welding table we got from Fireball Tool, also because they have a YouTube channel. Bender is here in the corner, toolbox, and then we have our welder right here that can TIG weld aluminum as well as titanium. I'll get into the differences between those metals in the next video once we start actually making our prototypes. And that should get us started prototyping and manufacturing a few wheelchairs. Obviously, this isn't a setup built for mass production yet, but I can assure you someday soon we will be at that point making a lot of wheelchairs really fast for really cheap. All of which is made possible by you guys, supporting us by buying these coins and just by watching these videos. Together we'll be able to watch the process and learn what it takes to make a chair as well as what it takes to go into mass production and make thousands, if not more. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're looking for an electric vehicle charger, I'll have the Flow Home X5 linked down in the description, along with the coins that you can purchase to help support this project. And in a video very soon, I'll walk you through the process of how we make a wheelchair. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.